Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we are tackling a subject that feels high stakes because, well, it is.
It absolutely is.
We're talking about the art of the interview, but not just any interview. We're zooming in on that pivotal, kind of stressful moment when a business needs to hire a marketing executive.
Right. And we've got a guide here from the sales experts that I think just completely flips the script on how we usually think about this whole process.
It really does. And I think the hook, the thing that grabs you right away in the source material, is this one, single statement.
Oh, I know the one. You are not being hired for ideas alone.
You are being hired to deliver outcomes.
Boom. It cuts right through everything.
Like a splash of cold water, isn't it?
Exactly. And, while this guide is technically written for the candidate, the person in the hot seat, I actually think it's a master key for the people on the other side of the table.
Okay, how so?
Well, if you're a sales leader, a hiring manager, an executive listening to this is your blueprint. This is how you spot the difference between someone who can talk a good game and someone who can actually deliver sales success.
And that's really the mission for today, isn't it? We want to help you distinguish between the candidate who talks about, creativity and vibes, and the one who talks about pipeline.
Pipeline, revenue, hard results. Precisely. Because in the world of the sales experts, marketing is not some art project.
It's a revenue engine.
It's a revenue engine. So let's dive into this guide on preparing for a marketing executive position and see what it tells us about finding that top-tier talent.
Okay, so let's unpack this first big concept. The source material starts by pointing out a huge problem right at the start: ambiguity. The term marketing executive is a bit of a chameleon.
It really is. It means completely different things to different businesses. I mean, in one company, it's basically a glorified event planner.
Right. And in another, they're the architect of the entire lead generation system.
So the guide says the first step before you even walk in the room is clarity. You have to know what the role actually is.
Is it hands-on delivery?
Yeah, or is it a coordination role where you're just managing agencies? Who do you report to? And I think this is crucial. What does success look like in the first 6 to 12 months?
That success question is huge. The guide mentions you need to know if the focus is growth, retention, brand awareness.
Or lead gen.
Yeah, because if you walk in pitching a rebrand, but the company is, bleeding customers and needs retention strategies, you're dead in the water.
And you're wasting everyone's time. And look, if you're the hiring manager, you need to be explicitly clear on this too. If you don't know if you want growth or retention, you can't really blame the candidate for giving the wrong answer.
That actually leads us to a really powerful story in the source material. It describes a tale of two candidates.
Oh, I marked this part. It's fascinating.
I think this just perfectly encapsulates the shift we're talking about.
It does. So you have two candidates. On paper, their CVs look almost identical. Same experience, same education, you know the drill.
Okay.
But the interview goes in two completely different directions.
Let me guess. One brings the sparkle.
Exactly. Candidate A comes in, spends the whole hour talking about creativity, brand colors, emotional resonance, big abstract ideas. It's all about the art of marketing.
Probably has a beautiful portfolio.
Oh, sure. And then you have candidate B.
And candidate B.
Candidate B walks in and talks about pipeline contribution. They talk about conversion rates. They talk about how their last campaign directly influenced sales numbers. They're not talking about how pretty the email was.
They're talking about how many meetings were booked from it.
Yes.
And the verdict?
It's not even close. Candidate B gets the offer every single time.
But why is that? I mean, creativity is important. We all like creativity.
We do. But the source makes a really critical distinction here. Opinions don't get hired. Evidence does. When a hiring manager, especially a sales leader, is sitting across from you, they're looking for risk reduction. Creativity is subjective. I think blue is a nice color, is an opinion. I increased lead flow by 20%, which resulted in $50,000 in new revenue, is evidence.
That is such a key takeaway for our listeners who are in sales leadership. That's your litmus test right there. Are they giving you opinions or are they giving you evidence?
It is the #1 indicator of sales success. If they aren't speaking the language of outcomes in the interview, they probably won't deliver outcomes in the job. You're hiring them to solve a business problem, not, to decorate the office.
Okay, so we've established that we need outcomes, not just ideas. Let's talk about the preparation. The guide says most candidates fail before they even say hello because their research is, well, it's basic.
Basic is being polite. The guide is pretty savage here. It says most candidates just skim the website. They read the About Us page, Maybe look at the latest blog post and they think they're ready.
I am guilty of having done that in the past. Oh, they sell software. Got it.
Right. But that's not enough. Not if you want to be a strategic partner. The source demands what I would call deep reconnaissance. You need to think like an insider before you even get the job.
What does that actually look like?
You need to know the core products inside and out. Who exactly is the target customer? Who are the main competitors? And what is the current positioning?
And it goes deeper than that, right? It says to look at LinkedIn posts from the leadership team, not just the company page.
Yes, because that tells you what the leaders care about right now. If the CEO is posting about a new market expansion and you walk in talking about optimizing the website for the old market, you just look disconnected.
You look like you haven't done your homework.
Exactly.
There's a specific script in the source material that I absolutely love. It's a way to demonstrate this research that feels so natural but is so, so powerful.
Oh, the insider statement.
Yeah.
Goes something like this. I noticed you are pushing X right now. If I joined, I would want to understand how marketing supports that priority.
That is smooth.
It's more than smooth. It's strategic. Think about what that does to the dynamic in the room.
Right.
Suddenly, it's not an interrogation anymore. It's not, tell me your strengths and weaknesses. It becomes a partnership discussion.
Yeah.
You're already working on the problem with them.
It changes the tone instantly. You're signaling, I see what you're trying to do, and I'm here to help you do it.
Exactly. And that is what sales leaders want. They don't want a subordinate who waits for instructions. They want a partner who sees the goal and figures out how to get there.
Okay, so you've done the recon. You're in the room. Now comes the part that scares a lot of creative types. The numbers.
The commercial awareness section. Yeah, this is non-negotiable.
The source is pretty blunt. It says you do not need to be a data scientist. You do need to be commercially aware.
That is such a great distinction. You don't need to code the algorithm, but you need to know what the numbers mean for the business. The guide lists specific metrics you have to be ready to discuss. Lead volume,
Conversion rates.
cost per lead, engagement metrics, and of course, the holy grail, ROI.
But here's where it gets really interesting, and I think this is a relief for some people. What if you don't have those numbers? What if your previous boss didn't share them, or the systems just weren't set up?
This is a crucial point. The guide has a strict honesty policy. If you can't access the numbers, say so. Do not guess. Do not make them up.
Because they can smell a made-up stat a mile away.
100%. And they do not respect guessing, but they do respect honesty. The guide says, if you don't have the numbers, you explain what you tracked and why. You show you have the mindset of measurement, even if you didn't have the access.
So it's about the intent to measure.
Exactly. I didn't have access to the final revenue data, but I tracked lead volume and qualified lead rate because I wanted to ensure we were feeding sales quality, not just quantity. That's a perfectly acceptable answer. It implies that if you give me the tools, I'll be data-driven.
And when you do give answers about your past work, the guide offers a very specific structure to keep you from rambling. I think this is useful for anyone, really.
The objective, action, outcome structure, OAO. So simple, but it forces clarity.
Can you give us the example from the text?
Sure. So instead of saying, yeah, I did some email marketing and it went pretty well, you say,
The goal was to increase inbound leads by 20%.
I rebuilt the email sequence, tightened the call to action, and aligned content with sales objections.
The outcome was that leads increased by 28% in 3 months.
Boom. Clear. Measured. Credible. It's the difference between telling a story and presenting a case. One is fluff, the other is fact.
Now, you touched on something there, aligning content with sales objections. That leads us perfectly into what the source material treats as, well, basically the holy grail of this role.
Marketing supporting sales.
Yes.
This is the heartbeat of the sales experts' philosophy. Marketing is not an island. It's not an art department. It is the engine that supports the sales team's closing ability.
And the guide says understanding this connection matters more than most candidates even realize.
It does. A lot of marketers think their job ends when the lead is generated. They just throw it over the fence and say, good luck.
Right.
But a top-tier marketing executive understands the handover. They understand how feedback flows back from sales to marketing.
There is a golden answer in the source, a definition of marketing that basically guarantees you win the heart of any sales director.
Yes. Marketing should make buying easier for sales. My focus is clarity, relevance, and consistency.
Make buying easier for sales. That's so simple, but how many marketers actually say that?
Very, very few. Most say marketing builds brand awareness or marketing tells our story. And those are true, but they're secondary. If you're sitting across from a sales director and you tell them, my job is to make it easier for your team to close deals, you are speaking their love language.
It really emphasizes that relationship. It asks candidates to explain how leads are handed over, how they get feedback. Because if marketing is sending junk leads and sales never tells them, the system is broken.
Exactly. And if you've worked closely with sales in the past, you need to highlight that. If you haven't, you need to say how you would change that. You need to show that you want to break down that silo.
Moving on to the actual dialogue of the interview. It's not just them asking you questions. The source says the questions you ask are just as important.
An interview is a two-way assessment. Your questions signal how you think. If you ask low-level questions, you look like a low-level candidate.
So the guide warns against bad questions. What are those?
Questions that focus too early on perks. How many vacation days do I get? Is there a gym subsidy? Look, those things matter, but they can wait. If that's your first question, it signals you're focused on what the company can do for you, not what you can do for the company.
So what are the good questions?
Questions that show strategic intent. What does success look like after 6 months? Where do leads currently fall down in the funnel?
Ooh, I like that one.
Or even, what is currently not working in marketing?
That funnel question is brilliant. Where do leads fall down? Shows you're already looking for the leak in the bucket.
Exactly. It shows you're a mechanic coming in to fix the engine, not just a passenger along for the ride.
Now, there's a trap here, though. The free consulting trap. I've seen this happen where a candidate tries to solve the whole company's problem right there in the interview.
Yes, and that can backfire. You don't want to come across like you know everything before you've even seen the data. The guide advises balance. Want ideas, but not a full strategy. You're there to show how you think, not to do the work for free.
And there's a great example of this regarding gated content.
Yes, this is a perfect way to walk that line. The candidate says, I noticed your content is strong but gated early. I would want to test lighter entry points to increase top-of-funnel volume.
Okay, let's break that down. Why is that such a good answer?
Well, first it starts with a compliment. Your content is strong, so you aren't insulting them.
Good start.
Second, it's an observation based on evidence. It's gated early. And third, it proposes a test, not a mandate. I would want a test. It shows initiative without being arrogant. It shows understand the mechanics of lead generation.
It's nuanced, and nuance is what separates the executives from the juniors.
100%.
Okay, let's talk about the practical stuff. A lot of these interviews involve a task, a presentation, a writing assignment.
The dreaded homework.
The dreaded homework. What's the rule here?
The rule is surprising in its simplicity. Follow the brief exactly.
That sounds obvious.
You would be amazed. The guide says candidates often try to over-design or overcomplicate just to impress. If the brief asks for a one-page email campaign, do not deliver a 10-page slide deck on brand strategy.
Because that shows you can't follow instructions.
Exactly. It shows a lack of discipline. The hiring manager is looking for clarity and judgment. Keep it simple. Explain your thinking. But do not reinvent the wheel if they just ask for a tire change.
And then there are the basics, the things we shouldn't have to say, but we do.
The obvious things that still matter. Arrive early. Dress for the business. Look the part. Bring notes. And bring energy.
That last one, bring energy. I think people underestimate that.
Well, marketing is a communication role. And the source puts it pretty bluntly. If you can't communicate clearly and with energy in the interview, concerns will follow about your ability to do the job.
It's a red flag for the job itself.
A huge red flag. I mean, if you can't sell yourself in that hour, how are you going to sell the company's product? You have to demonstrate the skills the role requires.
So we've covered the mindset, the research, the numbers, the sales alignment, and the interview tactics. As we wrap up this deep dive, I want to circle back to the core philosophy here.
It really all comes down to one final question that the source material poses. And this is a question every listener should ask themselves before their next interview or before they hire their next executive.
Okay, what is it?
Are you preparing to impress or are you preparing to be effective?
Ooh, that is a sharp distinction.
It is, isn't it? Preparing to impress is about flash, buzzwords, looking good. Preparing to be effective is about understanding the problem, having the data, and offering a solution.
One gets attention.
The other gets hired.
That's the perfect summary. It's about moving beyond the fluff. It's about understanding that marketing exists to drive sales success.
And for the sales leaders listening, this is your scorecard. When you're interviewing, look for those effective signals. Look for the evidence. Look for the commercial awareness. Don't get dazzled by the impressive slideshow if the substance isn't there.
Absolutely. If you want to ensure you're building teams capable of true sales success, this is the mindset you need to adopt. And if you want more insights like this, you can always visit thesalesexperts.com.
They really are the gold standard for this kind of thinking.
So as you head into your next interview, whether you are the candidate or the hiring manager, we want to leave you with one final thought to mull over.
We've talked a lot about the effective candidate, but ask yourself this. If you're a hiring manager, are your interview questions actually designed to uncover the effective candidate? Or are your questions maybe inadvertently rewarding the person who just wants to impress?
The difference might just be your Q4 revenue.
It very well might be.
Thanks for listening to The Deep Dive. See you next time.
Goodbye, everyone.